Oil prices have been bouncing around tremendously because of all of this negative news. Every day there's a new negative article regarding oil and gas. Shale has broken its back. It's falling apart. That 10 million barrels a day that came out of nowhere from 2012 till 2020 is going away, and there's nothing they could do about it. Even if, oil at 50 something dollars a barrel, and we've been at that price for the last 5 years on average, it's not economically feasible to spend millions and millions of dollars on fracking technology to extract a shale that was never intended to produce. And oil prices really need to be around $100 a barrel for shale frackers to make money. And even if oil prices went back to $100 a barrel, there's not one bank out there with half a brain that's willing to give it a try. They already lost their butts twice in the shale games. Never again. So whether oil prices go up or they go down makes no difference. Shale is on its way out the door. And so today, WTI, you see here, it's $52 a barrel. Brent crude, $57 a barrel. Now, with all that negative news, and we're still at 50 plus a barrel, it's because OPEC is doing their job. They cut back on production output when oil prices start to drop. So they've done a good job stabilizing the market. And that's not the only reason why oil prices continue to be 50 something dollars a barrel. Conventional wells, you only need $50 oil in order to make money. All right, so I want you guys to see what's in the news for oil. And so I go to Google News and I like to type in oil prices. Oil prices slide as investors fret about OPEC's tolerance for deeper supply cuts. I see the same article written in 1,000 different ways almost every single day. Okay. I mean, but they do it to get clicks. They do it to get people to read it. But OPEC, I mean, they're either going to do a major output cut or they're going to increase it. But it's all based, they're just trying to maintain oil prices. And they do a pretty good job doing it. Goldman slashes oil prices forecast by $10. I'm going to read a lot of negative news about oil prices, and I want you to get a feeling for what's going on out there. Perfect market storm could drive oil prices below $30 a barrel. Ooh, that's very scary, isn't it? Oil prices bounce on hope for short coronavirus downturn. Okay, well, that's pretty good news. Collapse in oil prices, a glimpse of the industry's future. I mean, it's funny how these news journalists uses words like collapse. I mean, if somebody collapsed, we need to go to the emergency room, okay? They need to get on life support. Look, oil prices are not on life support right now. Now, shale, on the other hand, the frackers, those guys are on life support. But oil alone is not on life support. Bottom line, oil prices are not going to just drop down to $30 a barrel. I'll tell you why. Because shale is falling apart. The reason why oil prices have been low for the last 5 years, and 5 years previously, oil prices were $100 plus, is quite simply because of shale. Well, what do you think happens when oil prices drop? And shale is not economically feasible at these prices. Shale companies go out of business. 2019, 50 shale companies went out of business. 2020, even more. And the back of shale is being broken. If you read this news here, coronavirus may be the straw that breaks the back of oil fracking. Okay. Now, oil fracking is a simple term for a new tech to extract oil out of shale. Oil to produce oil out of shale was not even possible because the porosity was so low and very tight formation. You can't extract oil out of very tight rock. But they invented fracking. But fracking costs $5 to $10 million just to frack a well. Conventional wells, you drill it for $700,000, drill, test, completion, and you start flowing the oil. Okay, like the Clampets. But shale, a shale well could cost $20 million plus. So you got to produce a lot of oil in order to get make it economically feasible. But here's the thing: shale had all that easy to get to money. It was artificially stimulated by bankers, by these large institutional funders. All that money dried up, and so they had all this easy to get to money. They all lost their money because it was not economically feasible, and it got even worse over the last 5 years. They were losing when oil prices were $80, $90, $100 a barrel. Imagine what they're going through at $50-something a barrel. So, bottom line, Shell, the backs of Shell's being broken. 50 companies went out of business in 2019. 2020, there's even more companies that are going out of business. Banks are knocking, saying, hey, where's our money at? We want our money today. And they're having to file bankruptcy. And there is not going to be one investment firm that will ever invest in Shell. The game for Shell, it's over. And so that extra 10 million barrels a day that we added to the market because of Shell, it's going to go away, and it's going to go away quickly because Shell has a short shelf life. 70% of the world's oil output comes from all the wells that were drilled on 1970 and before, because it was all conventional oil. Shell, although we were only in America alone, we were producing 6 million a day, and then Shell came on the scene, and now we're producing 16 million. That's an extra 10 million a day from Shell alone. But the Shell shelf life is very short, because when you have to artificially stimulate a formation, an oil-bearing formation as tight as shale with a frac, it always goes back to what Mother Nature originally intended very quickly, okay? And so with that said, the decline curve for Shell is massive. And so there's a major divestment across the board in oil, especially in Shell. So that 10 million barrels a day is going to go away. OPEC knows this. Russia knows this. Our competitors know this, and they're waiting it out. So they're not going to try to increase oil prices back to $100 a barrel. What they're going to try to do is maintain oil prices, prevent them from dropping past 50, keep them around 60. So they're still economically feasible. So they're still profitable, but all the while watching Shell as they squirm and as they tap out, because they're bleeding out right now in a major way. And they only grew as fast as they did because America has got the biggest economy in the world. They have all this Federal Reserve that they print every day, and the Federal Reserve gives money to the central banking system, and the central banking system lends out 10 times more than the money that they got from the Federal Reserve. And who they give it to? Shell companies. Shell companies spend it, and they spent billions and billions on Shell, and then they get their money back. And so anyways, hey, it's game over for the Shell business. And I feel bad. I have a lot of friends in Shell, and it's falling apart. And so why are we getting all this negative news about oil and gas? Well, most of it's coming from the left, from the Democrats, okay? And so back in, I believe it was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, back in 2012, when Mitt Romney and Obama were sparring for the president's seat, they were sparring about oil. And it wasn't that Obama was attacking oil and Mitt Romney was pro-oil. No, actually, they were both pro-oil, and they're both fighting who could build it bigger, better, faster. But the thing is that they needed something that made them different. They realized that there was a massive base, there was a massive following of anti-oil protesters, and once the idea of global warming became mainstream, they realized, hey, we could jump on that bandwagon. So they use global warming the same way the Republicans use pro-life. If you vote for a Democrat, you hate and want to murder babies. And if you vote Republicans, you love babies. And they've done a beautiful job painting that picture. I'm pro-life, okay? But it's not about that. It's about the way they're brainwashing everybody. And so the Democrats, they are painting the picture. If you vote for Republicans, you hate the world, because if we don't get rid of fossil fuels, if we don't get rid of oil, global warming is going to increase, and it's going to be the end of the world as we know it. And if you hate your children, you are going to vote Republican. And if you love your children and you love the world, then you're going to vote Democrats. It's such hypocrisy, because they're pro-choice with abortion, late-term abortions, but they're also pro-earth. They'd rather protect the earth than the babies, But anyways, you get the picture. So bottom line, it's all about rallying a base around them. So they've got the attention of the college students. College students are protesting anti-oil. They're very excited about life. They have a lot of energy, and they don't have anything else to do but time to protest. And they're trying to out-protest each other. And so they're trying to get their colleges to divest from oil, and they're listening. And so and the people like Kramer on Mad Money is listening to them, because these Democrats, these young Democrats, they don't want to invest in oil. And the stock market is taking a huge hit in the oil sector because they're not investing into it. What do they want to invest in? They want to invest in green technology. But here's the thing. You could preach this message, anti-oil. You could have an anti-oil agenda, and it's working. The anti-agenda oil is working because investors are investing less money in oil than ever before. The shale industry is collapsing, and the only new places to invest was shale. And so companies like Chevron's falling apart. And so you could divest from oil and you could win that battle. Yes, there's less money being invested in oil than ever before, but the demand for oil is growing right now. How do you think you're going to get to your college classes? You're going to get there on a bicycle? Well, okay, that's okay. You're pro-life, right? You're pro-world, right? Well, and you're doing your part. But the thing is, how do you expect to charge your iPhone? I think most people don't realize that 81% of our energy, even the electricity that runs through our power lines, comes from fossil fuels. Okay. And so every time you charge your iPhone, every time you load up your iMac, every time you load up your laptop, every time you listen to a song, every time you play Xbox or your PlayStation, every time you turn on your television to watch the news, you are using fossil fuels. And the demand for that is growing. I get texts and emails saying, hey, for the first time, the EIA, Energy Information Administration, said that demand for oil is dropping. Well, first off, what you don't understand, since 1970 till now, we've increased demand for oil by 1 million barrels a day every year since 1970. So we went from 70 million a day usage demand for oil to 100 million barrels a day today. Okay. Now, on average, that's 1 million barrels a day increase each year. Well, they went from 1 million a day to forecasting over 400,000 barrels a day demand. But still, we are increasing 400,000. We're expected to increase energy demand by 400,000 barrels of oil 2021. So with that said, yes, oil demand has softened, but oil demand is increasing every single day. And of course it's dropped. Coronavirus, 50,000 flights were canceled. Jet fuel is a major part of oil. It's a byproduct of oil. Okay. Less people are driving, less people are traveling, and of course, thus slowing down oil demand, but it's still increasing. So what are you going to do with that 100 million barrels a day demand that we need right now? We need to use 100 million barrels a day today, and then tomorrow we need 100 million barrels a day, and that's not going to end. That's like having a family, and you keep having kids, and your demand for food, your demand for life expenses is growing every day, and you think, oh well, I'm just going to make less money. What do you think that demand is going to go away? We need the oil, guys, and people think that all we have to do is stop producing oil and start using green technology. Green technology cannot replace today's energy demands. It is too expensive. You wouldn't be able to afford to charge your iPhone anymore. You wouldn't be able to afford to drive a car. Not only that, the infrastructure doesn't have the ability to even support green technology. We barely have enough infrastructure to support the infrastructure that we have to support the energy demand today. Can you imagine adding on top of that an electric car in everyone's garage? It's impossible. So it's going to cost estimates of $100 trillion to do the Green New Deal. But the Democrats, they're trying to outdo each other. They're talking about green technology as if we have it and as if, hey, it's just a flip of the switch. And the evil Republicans, they want to kill you. They want to kill your babies. They don't know what global warming is. They're not smart enough. You know, whatever. I mean, it's a continuing, and it's going to be like this for the next year. But here's the thing: negative news about oil. All it's doing is prolonging the inevitable. Shale is falling apart. Oil output is dropping every single day. Oil investment is dropping every single day. But the demand for oil is growing. OPEC is laughing to the bank. Oil prices are going to go back up to $100-something a barrel, and we're back to where we were during the Obama administration, during the Bush administration. So anyways, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. Feel free to call me anytime if you have any questions about oil investments or what have you. 307-622-1-OIL. You can go on my description there. There's a link to more information. If you like my videos, please subscribe by clicking the bell below. And I love doing these videos, and I love to hear from you. So please comment. If you have any questions or any comments you'd like to share, please comment on this video. Thanks.